Welcome everyone to another mod spotlight, and today we are gonna cover a very awesome mod, namely the Applied Energistics by Algorithm X2 on the Minecraft forums. And this mod is just crazy brilliant, I have to tell you. It is very extensive, so I'm gonna leave out the recipe part. If you use any eye, you will be able to see all the recipes for yourself. But we are gonna check out all of the blocks there are, and I'm gonna tell you what they actually do and how you can use them. So let's get started right away. So let's have a look at the basics and how you actually get started with this mod. The first thing we want to find is this quartz crystal ore randomly in the world, and it will either drop quartz crystals or quartz dust. Now if it drops quartz crystals, you will have to process them a little bit in the quartz grindstone. Apply a wooden crank on top of it, put the quartz crystal in there, and you kind of have to manually right click it in order to process the crystal into dust. And this is what you want to have. You're gonna have to cook it up in any way you can think of. You can also use other mods to do so in order to get the silicone, which is a basic component in most of the recipes that are used later on. There's also iron dust and gold dust that comes with the mod, and of course this all works together with other mods using those kinds of items. Quartz crystals themselves you can actually use to create those tools. Now there's two special tools, the wrench, which you are crafting like that, and it's basically used like in industrial craft or buildcraft as the wrench for the tools. Note that you can also use the Omni wrench from thermal expansion, which makes it a hell lot easier, so I'm not going to use that. There's also a quartz cutting knife. I believe this is used in other crafting recipes, and some standard tools that you can craft using the normal crafting recipes and the crystals. To round up the basic components, I want to show a few recipes. Right here we have the basic processor assembly, which you craft like that, and you can see the quartz cutting knife is used there in the recipe. Cook it up in a furnace to get the basic processor. You also can do that with a diamond to get the advanced processor, and those guys are used in even further recipes, so you can see it's quite complex, one of those mods where you craft forever until you get to the end item, but pretty fun. Anyways, we have the advanced electric tools right here. Right now there's only two, maybe there will be added some more. So you actually have to charge those tools up. They can store 12,000 EU to do their thing, and what they actually do, as for the vibration catalyst, will automatically in real time smelt items that you right click, and you can see I received the iron ingot. The entropy accelerator on the other side will, for instance, freeze lava into obsidian and maybe also water, I believe. Let's try this out. Yeah, there we go. Pretty darn awesome. Using energy can always be recharged. So let's have a look at the core of this mod, which is the ME network. Oh yes, matter energy, you gotta love that. But there's so much stuff to it. As you can see, it is just freaking crazy. But we are gonna go through all of the blocks very briefly, and I will show you how you have to use them and how they will actually affect the system. Since this mod is all about storage and managing your items, the first thing you probably want to make for yourselves is one of those storage units, which can be from 1K storage to 64K storage. And it's just much more storage, much more expensive to make. Those guys you can actually use in combination with the ME chest and some other blocks that I'm gonna get to later. But what you want to do is put in your storage cell and store a bunch of items in there, and you will soon realize that items of the same type will stack, and it will basically fill up your bytes used right here. And you can also see that you can store in total 63 different types of items, and the stack size doesn't really matter as long as you still have bytes. Or when you are done with that, you can actually take out the storage unit and all of your items will be saved in a single block. So one of those cells can become very expensive. You might not want to lose it. I also prepared another storage unit right here with a bunch of items in there so we can actually test out all of the other machines. Another block in combination with the storage units I want to show you is the preformatter, and you can actually put in a storage cell right here, and for instance I want to give in the name saplings, and I only want to store oak wood saplings right here and not spruce saplings. So I'm gonna format that like so. You can see it is called saplings now, and it has the attribute preformatted. So we are gonna go back into our Emi chest, and you can see that I will be able to put in oak wood saplings but not spruce saplings. I cannot put those guys in. So this is a way to control what is being stored on your storage units. Pretty convenient. We also have the Emi drive, which can be used in combination with the storage cells to basically store the units themselves, and the system will be able to access items from within them. So this is a good way to store a bunch of those cells and still make them accessible without having an Emi chest for each of those. Now we know about the basic concept of storage behind this mod, but let's have a look how to actually hook up the system. You are going to use some of those cables, and they actually come in many colors. You can make different systems that don't link with each other, but the basic concept is that all adjacent blocks will be considered as hooked up to the system, and every block that is not hooked up to the system you will have to connect with those kinds of cabling, as you can see over here. Now let's have a look at how to access the items once the system is hooked up to each of those blocks. You are going to need the ME terminal, and right here you can see all of the items I have access to right now, including those that I can craft, and how to do that I will show you in a second. The ME terminal can be used to grab items that you have in your system out directly in your inventory. It will grab one stack or whatever is left. You may also craft items that you are able to craft with your system and sort them in a bunch of ways, and also you can only display the craftable items. For instance, I want to craft myself 10 sticks. This interface will pop up. I can say begin, and it will start crafting those sticks. If I go back to stored, you can see it has now 12 sticks, which is definitely more than it had before. So I'm just going to grab those out again, and you can see now it is craftable. Now if you already have sticks in there, you will not be able to craft more, but you can change that to craftable items, and here you will be able to do so. Pretty good. There's also the MEC terminal. C stands for crafting, and here you will only be able to see the craftable materials, but I believe the system will kind of try if there is sub recipes that you have to make an end product. For instance, this wood gear requires sticks, so it will try if I craft some wooden gears. Actually, it will try to maintain the amount of sticks it will require for the next wooden gear, which makes, you know, long crafting chains a lot simpler. There's also a crafting table implemented into the C terminal, which can be convenient at times. Also, we have the ME crafting monitor hooked up to the system, and this guy will actually show you which current crafting tasks the system is undertaking. So for instance, we are going to craft a bunch of sticks, and I already took out all of the sticks and all of the wood that it would require to make new sticks. So it should be failing. Let's create 10 sticks, begin. And the crafting monitor will tell you that it is trying to craft 10 sticks, it requires this material, and it is missing this material. So we are going to put back the oak wood planks, and if we have a look back here, we can shift click that guy. Now I'm not sure if I simply cancelled it. No, we ended up with a bunch of sticks. Pretty good. Now we didn't get 10, of course, because that's not the way the vanilla recipe works, but you get the basic gist. Now, if your machines are not adjacent to the system, you will need to hook it up with the cabling, just like I said, and I hooked up another ME terminal just to show you that it actually works like that. Pretty good. Now, up here we have a barrel, and this mod is actually able to interact with any kind of inventories, such as normal chests or maybe also iron chests, but also barrels, and it is able to access the items from the barrels as well as store them, which is just the best thing ever. Now we have a ME storage bus right here, and I already configured it to only filter cobblestone, only let cobblestone through it. So you can actually do that. Now all the cobblestone that I input anywhere, let's try to grab a bunch of those guys. And we are going to input that into our ME terminal. Simply shift click them in there, and the item will actually automatically go ahead and jump into this guy. And also I can access the items, so if I grab a bunch of those out of here, I didn't mean to grab the stone ones. Come on, there we go. Get out of here, and you can see those items are gone from the barrel. Just as a little side note, that is just a very nifty addition. I like that. Let's just put all of the items back. Great, sorted. Another block I wanted to show you is the MEIO port, which can be used in combination with the storage cells. Now there's two modes. The first one we are going to try is the transfer data to the storage cell itself. Now we have everything in our ME chest, as you can see, and if I put my storage cell in here, everything will be transferred right into there. And you can see it quickly started to fill up, and my ME chest is now empty. Everything from the system, including the cobblestone, as you can see, has been stored in this cell. I can also do this vice versa, put the cell in there, and the cobblestone will go back in its barrel, and the other stuff will go back into the ME chest. Now that we know all about storage and how to access it, we also want a way to wirelessly access it. For that you actually need one of those blocks, which is called the wireless access point, and its range is unfortunately only 16 blocks. So within 16 blocks of this guy, I will be able to wirelessly access my terminal. And to do so, you will have to craft a wireless access terminal, and you're gonna have to have a controller block as well, which basically shows you all of the components that you have hooked up to your system, as well as how many units of energy you are using per tick. But you are going to put your wireless access terminal in there in order to link it up to this specific system, and you will able to access it. Pretty darn awesome. You can also boost this wireless access point using a wireless booster, and they will increase its range by 1 block per booster, and you can stack this up to 16. So in total you get a range of 32 blocks if you want. So right now we are out of range from this access or wireless terminal, and we can simply hook up another wireless terminal to get into range again. Now it still doesn't work because I have hooked up a dark cable right here, which is a special kind of cable applied with the redstone signal. It will not let the system connect, but now it is connected, and I should be able to access my hello guy ME terminal with or through this wireless access point. So you could simply make a grid of those access points, and you will be able to access your stuff wherever you wish to. Pretty cool. So I also explained the concept of the dark cable. You could use that for, of course, to, for instance, cut off certain parts of your systems that you don't want to have hooked up all the time, or whatever you can come up with. It's a good handy cable to have. Next up we have the storage monitors. They are pretty nifty, I have to say. They will actually show you whatever item you are right-clicking with and how much you have in store of it. So you can also go with the pickaxe, for instance, which of course I have none, or the cobblestone. You can also right-click, shift right-click actually with your wrench, and it will say the storage monitor is now locked. which is what I've done with this guy. Now I cannot change the picture or the item it displays anymore because it is locked. Simply shift right click again with your wrench and it will be unlocked again and you can change it. A third way to actually influence the behavior of that guy is very nifty. Just apply a conversion matrix. Shift click actually, and it will be converted. You can see on the corners the indication that it is so. And what you have to do is actually lock this guy on an item, and if you right click now, it will give you exactly one stack of that item. That is freaking cool. So let's unlock it, change it to cobblestone, lock it again, and I will be able to access cobblestone. Gotta love it. Alright guys, so now we are gonna have a look at the automatic crafting of this mod, and it is done brilliantly, I have to say. What you have to make is one of these molecular assembler chambers, which is a multi-block structure. You're gonna need a lot of these assembler containment holes, and I believe you can make a 3x3x3, 4x4x4, and 5x5x5, but we are gonna go with a simple 4x4, which I've done on the other side as well. And what you have to do is make a structure, so all of the walls have to be made with these wall blocks, just like that. Alright, we're just gonna finish that. And depending on the size, of course, I believe the amount of recipes you can craft of different recipes is changing as well. But there's a lot you can do actually, so don't worry about that too much. So I'm using the heat vents on all of the sides. So you can see the corners have to be done with the walls and the other stuff with the heat vent. Now we are going to have to fill this up with CPUs and providers. Now the CPUs will increase the speed. So for now, because this is not really important, I'm only going to go with one CPU. The CPUs are actually optional, I believe so. The pattern providers, you need at least one of them for it to function. But I'm going to go with 7, fill this up all the way. You might want to go 50-50 usually, so your crafting system is a little bit faster. But you can see the tank has completed, and because we have used 7 of those pattern providers, we also have 7 pages worth of crafting recipes that we could place in, which is pretty cool. And the CPU, of course, we could increase that in order to get more speed out of our system. So now that we have our assembler chamber, we want to fill it up with our crafting recipes. To create them, we have to use the pattern encoder in combination with the blank patterns. And you simply place a recipe in there together with your blank pattern, encode it, and it will be crafting 1 wood gear with 4 sticks. Easy as that. What you can also do is place in recipes that are normally not possible, for instance furnace recipes. And you don't have to specify in which way it will get from A to B, you only have to put them in. So sand will result in glass. Let's encode that. Pretty cool. Now the recipes that are possible you can actually place within the assembler chamber. So this wood gear I could simply place in here. I already done that, so we are able to actually craft the wood gear. Now as for the impossible recipes, meaning recipes that have to be done within an other machine, and this doesn't need to be a furnace, can also be a carpenter or whatever you can think of or whatever you need. But you are gonna need to hook this up with an ME interface, and it can interact with Buildcraft tubes, I also believe Red Power tubes and all that good stuff. But the impossible recipes actually go in here, hooked up to whatever machine it requires. So we have the 1 sand equals 1 glass recipe put in the processing area, and this is now hooked up to our crafting recipe. So that means, or our crafting grid basically. So I put out all of these glass, and you can see that we are able to actually craft glass. So I start crafting 10 glass, and it will put or take sand from my system, input it into this powered furnace. The ME interface may also be used to keep a certain amount of items stored within those slots. So for instance, I could keep 8 pieces of sand at all times in there, and I have access to them. So these are real sand pieces, and you can see it will always resupply it as long as we have sand in the system. I can also remove it, and it will be smart enough to remove the items itself and put it back to where they belong. Now, to show you some other items that you can use, I have hooked this up to a chest. You could also lead it back into the system using piping technology or whatever. But I have hooked up the ME import bus right here. And import means it will output it from any inventory it is hooked up. You can change that using the wrench. And input it into the system. It will import it into your system. There's also the export. So right here I have specified dirt. Any dirt that goes into my system should be exported, no matter where it is. So for instance, we could go with a stack of dirt right here, and I put it anywhere I want, and it will be sucked out immediately because it will be going into this chest. So import bus right here, output bus, very useful. They also come with different modes, with redstone signals, or you can move stacks of items at a time, or move single items only crafted. That's just crazy. There's so much configuration that you can do. So just as a side note, those could be very nifty objects to work with, especially if you want to, for instance, put this dirt into another system. You could do that simply using this export module, and it will take care of all the dirt. Last but not least, I want to show you this little guy, the ME Level Emitter, which can be used to emit the redstone signal once you have reached a certain amount of items, or once you are below a certain amount. Simply right click it, specify the item right here, specify the amount, and whether or not it should emit the redstone signal, if it is above or below the limit you specified. So right now it doesn't output the redstone signal because we are way above this 64 number. But if I put it to that, it will output the redstone signal if above the number. And if I removed all of the cobblestone, of course, it would change its state. You can also change it around, flip it into any direction you wish to. Pretty good. Alright guys, this has been my spotlight for the Applied Energistics mod. Hope you've been enjoying it. You could learn something about it and know how to handle the different machines. If you have any questions, feel free to leave feedback down in the comments section. Other than that, have also a look in the description where you will find a link to the different sites that you need to go in order to get this mod. But other than that, thanks a lot for watching, have a good time, and see you next time. Bye bye.